laughed softly. "Sorry. I was going to bake some cookies to bring into the shop tomorrow, but I was low on ingredients." "So you were raiding my pantry?" "Guilty as charged," Mallory replied sheepishly. Arm in arm, they walked into the house. Closing the door behind her, Mallory looked at her mother and smiled broadly. "So, how was your night? Did you and Colton do anything exciting?" "Oh, just dinner," she said, walking straight toward the kitchen. "And?" Mallory asked expectantly, almost as if she knew what had happened tonight. Rather than answer right away, Susannah busied herself by putting a kettle on the stove to make some hot tea. She pulled 2 mugs down from the cabinets and tried to figure out a way to change the subject. "Mom, is everything all right?" The last thing she wanted was to break down in front of her daughter, but it seemed like the events of the night were ready to catch up with her. Bracing both hands on the cool granite countertop, Susannah hung her head as the first tears began to fall. "No," she sobbed. "Everything is all wrong." In the blink of an eye, Mallory's arms were around her, embracing her. She didn't ask any questions. She simply held on as Susannah cried. They stood there until the kettle began to whistle, and Mallory reached out to turn it off before leading them over to the kitchen table to sit. Once Susannah was settled, Mallory went to make their tea, and neither spoke until they each had a mug in front of them. "I'm sorry I fell apart like that," Susannah began quietly, reaching for a napkin to wipe her face. "I didn't think it was going to hit me so hard." For a moment, Mallory was silent, as if carefully considering her words. "What happened?" Letting out a shuddery breath, she said, "Colton proposed tonight." "Oh my goodness, that's amazing!" "I turned him down." "Oh, why?" "I thought you guys were, you know." "You wouldn't understand," Susannah said wearily. "Let's just say it's all for the best." "Mom, I can't possibly say that while you're sitting here crying. How can it be for the best?" "Just trust me, Mal, okay?" Resting her head in her hands, she wished they were discussing anything but this. After several minutes, Mallory asked, "So then, that's it? You and Colton are through?" She nodded. It was another few minutes before Mallory said anything. "I get that you don't want to talk about this right now, but I also don't want you to be alone tonight. I'm going to stay and we can just sit and watch some TV or bake, or you can go up to bed and I'll stay in one of the guest rooms and leave you be." "Mal," reaching across the table, Mallory placed one hand on top of hers. "I'm not leaving." Emotion clogged her throat and all she could do was nod. Mallory pulled out her phone and stood, likely to call her fiancé to let him know where she was and what was going on. When she left the room to talk, Susannah was glad for the respite. She didn't let out an easy breath until Mallory's voice was barely audible. Colton Hale had proposed to her, and she had no idea it was coming. None. She was clueless when it came to relationships, always had been. Her ex-husband was her high school sweetheart, and they had gotten married right out of school because she was pregnant. When he left her, she put all of her time and energy into surviving and taking care of her children. Sam and Mallory were her entire world, and she never even thought about dating until they were in college. And boy, had things changed in the dating world in those 20 years. Still, Susannah hadn't found dating a necessity, and she certainly never found someone who really piqued her interest. Until Colton. They had been dating for almost 9 months now, and even though she knew she was in love with him, there was no way she would ever consider marrying him, or anyone, no matter how much it broke her heart. Pushing her cup of tea aside, she rested her face in her palms again. As she closed her eyes, she could still see the look of utter devastation on Colton's face when she turned him down. He was a good man, possibly the best man in the world, and that meant he deserved so much more than she could give him. He'd been married once before, too, and had no children, so he didn't understand some of her reasons for turning him.